Feminists are children that come from either single mother households or households where she had a weak father figure or a weak male role model. Okay, because any woman, based on my own experience, that I've met that has not subscribed to feminism has generally come from a household where she's had a strong male role model, whether it was her father or somebody in her house, maybe even an older brother, right? You see that these women generally do not subscribe to feminist ideology. They actually go against it. Okay, they don't agree with it, and they're often not afraid to voice the fact that they're not for feminism. And they can often see what it's really about, which is actually, destroying families, destroying men, and empowering women at the expense of men, at the expense of destroying families. Right? So one thing you will find if you ever quiz a feminist and she wants to be honest, like a real feminist, I'm not talking about a coffee shop feminist, because some of these girls, a lot of these girls today, especially the hot ones, tend to be coffee shop feminists. They're just really repeating talking points that they heard from Joy Behar or The View or some late night talk show host like Trevor Noah or Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Fallon, any of those like pussified late night talk show hosts. But I'm talking about hardcore feminists. Like you see them walking around, they're just overweight, they've got like the green hair, or a lot of these girls too, like they're in their 20s, they're doing this hair coloring where it's like gray and they have got like old lady hair. You guys have seen that? Like the girl will have like old lady hair and she's only like 22 years old. Right? And you know that she dyed it to the gray color. And it's like, when they finally do reach that age where they start getting gray hair, they're gonna think back to when they were in their 20s and they were coloring their hair gray, and they're gonna wanna kick themselves. They're gonna be like, why did I do that? I had my beautiful hair color, my natural hair color, and I colored it gray because I wanted to look old. And now I'm old and I just wanna look young. Whenever I see these feminists with that like gray hair color, I'm like, that's creepy. So, most feminists you'll find, especially these days, tend to be the product of single mother households and fatherless homes, okay, where they did not have a strong male role model to learn from. And this is often why you see these women acting out, just behaving the way that they do, because there was nobody ever in her life growing up to really call her out on her shit and hold her accountable for her bad behavior, to punish her for her bad behavior, right? To put her in her place. She was just used to having like a single mom or a weak father figure, just like, let her be, let her do what she wants. She was just so used to that now she's grown into this very violent, angry, hostile adult that has no fear in talking down to men, disrespecting not only men, but any women that don't espouse the same beliefs that she does, right? I really believe that not only these feminists, but leftists, liberals, they're all in the same boat these days, right? They're all in the same camp. They're all espousing the same ideas. They're very violent, they're very angry, they're very hostile. You see them acting out like children. You see them throwing temper tantrums like a 5-year-old would. And you're like, what are they doing? They're adults. Why are they acting like this? And you're just kind of like blown away. And really, you want to know where that comes from. It comes from them lacking a strong male role model in their lives growing up to correct them. Because all of the lessons that we learn in life that we carry on with us through adulthood and until the day we're 6 feet under, we learn from the ages of 2 through 8. So understand, the ages of 2 through 8 are the most vital development and learning period for a child. So if you have a child right now, you got to be careful those ages from 2 through 8 what you teach him, because he's going to carry that on into his adulthood. And if you teach him bad shit, you teach him things that are like, not even teaching him things, but if say you're like neglectful, or say that you're never around, or say that you do things that are just not cool, right? He's going to carry that into his adulthood, and it's going to cause problems for him or her. It's going to cause them issues throughout their adulthood, their childhood. until they fix it. And some of these kids who don't fix these things, if it's too much to bear, they end up offing themselves, right? And my dad, when I was a kid growing up, he was still in his 20s, early 30s. He was big, strong, alpha, tall, and violent. Man, my dad was kind of violent at times. I remember, I'll never forget this. I was like 5 years old. It's one of my earliest memories. We're driving in our car, our station wagon. We had a station wagon back then. And we're up on Geary Street in San Francisco. We're up on Geary, and we're at a stoplight, and he just got into it with another driver, right? So much so, my dad hit the gas, literally pulls the car in front of this guy. This guy screeches. He was in a van, right? And this other guy wasn't small either. It was pretty big. My dad gets out of the car. Get out of your car! Get out of your car! I'm 5 years old, right? Totally helpless, powerless. I'm what do I do, right? And I don't remember what happened at that point, but I literally was this. I didn't want to see it. But next thing I know, my dad got in the car, and it was next time, watch that, right? And then the guy took off. But because I saw a violent side to him, right? He never beat us with an open fist or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. He belted us, he spanked us. That was the extent of it. And yelled and screamed at us a lot. That was the extent of it. But because I witnessed things like that growing up, him acting out like that, by the time I became a teenager and late teens, early 20s, I was pretty violent. I was pretty friggin' violent. I did not back down from fights. And plus, I took martial arts when I was younger, so I already had my black belt, and I could fight. And I didn't back down. I would fight, right? Anybody got my way, I would fight. Whereas nowadays, I just wouldn't do it. It's just not worth it. I don't want to go through the legal ramifications, especially now because I have a business. I have too much to lose. I have employees around the world who depend on me to feed their families. I'm not going to do anything stupid like that at this point. Because all you need to do is hit a guy, and then he falls on the curb, and say his head hits the back of the curb, guy dies. Now you're going to prison. Done. Okay, and I'm out in these venues all the time. So a lot of intense situations I find myself in at times, especially if it's a guy with his girlfriend. I didn't see the guy, and the girl tried to lie or whatever, tried to make him jealous. Now I got to diffuse that shit, right? I got to diffuse it while staying icy, staying non-reactive, and not letting it escalate to violence, But if I have to go there, unfortunately, I got to do what I got to do and protect myself. But as much as possible, I try to avoid it these days. But anyway, it made me violent, right? Because I saw those actions from my dad from ages 2 through 8, right? I saw him do things like that. Not a whole lot, but enough times for it to stick in my head, oh, this is how you respond to conflict. You get out of your car and you threaten him. And that will make him go away, So that stuck with me, right? Until I corrected it. I had to correct that. So when it comes to raising your own kid, you have to be careful what you teach that kid. You have to teach them to do what's right. You have to teach them to be moral. You have to teach them that they're going to be held accountable for their actions. And my dad actually did teach me that. He said, you don't want to do things like that. I'm wrong. He would say things like that. And I was but it's still stuck in my head. I'm this is how you handle conflict, right? But my dad would be yeah, you don't want to do stuff like that. But I did anyway, because I saw him do it. But when you see most feminists out there just kind of throwing these hissy fits, and and a lot of these ladies, they could be I'm not even kidding. I've seen women as old as in their 60s and 70s. Literally, 60s and 70s. Could be somebody's grandmother, right? Acting out, throwing shit, breaking windows, they're a punk teenager, lighting cop cars on fire. It's what are you doing? You're a grandma, or you should be a grandma, right? A lot of them tend to be single, right? Never been married, never had kids. They're bitter at men. They hate men. Right? You might think, what are they doing? It's just because they've never really had that strong male role model in their life to really discipline them. There's a lot more trouble I could have got into when I was younger, but fortunately, my dad would always jump on me. He would discipline me, even when I got into fights. He would be proud of me, but he would still discipline me. He was oh, did you win? I'm yeah. And he was okay, good. Don't do that, Whereas most feminists out there who are doing this shit, literally, there comes a point in your life where you need to fix yourself if you're still acting like a little shit, right? If you're in your 20s and your 30s and you're still acting like a little shit and you're lighting things on fire and throwing rocks through windows and you're like in your 30s now, something's freaking wrong, right? Something's wrong, son. You gotta do something, male or female, right? Especially female. You should not be doing things like that. That's not ladylike. That's just not what women do. And I did have sisters too, by the way, and my dad would always tell my sister stuff like that too. My mom would, especially my mom. So like, no, that's not how women talk. That's not how ladies talk. You have to be ladylike. Don't use F words. Don't use 4-letter words. Don't sound like a tramp. Don't dress like a tramp. My mom would always say things like that. But a lot of these women that become feminists, they come from those type of households. So it's really no shock. Like when she's coming from a household where she never got disciplined, she never got called out for her bad behavior, she never got called out for acting out. When she's coming from that type of household, it's really not surprising that she's acting the way she is. Whenever you see these girls like just hating on men, and they might be shaming you down below in the comment section or shaming you in real life whenever you espouse like red pill ideas, and you see her like getting hostile and angry towards you and trying to intimidate you, you have to understand where that's coming from. That's coming from her lacking proper parenthood, from her coming from a piss poor parental background, right? Because I always look at the person, like when I see somebody act out like that, even if they're an adult, I think back on how they were raised. I always look back at their parents. Even if, obviously you don't know their parents, but you think back on like what kind of home she was raised in for her to act like this now. Now, it doesn't mean it's right the way she's acting, but it also means that it's going to be very, very hard to fix and very hard to change her mind. A lot of these feminists, you guys think you could change their minds, and it's really like you can't. The only people's minds you can change that espouse those ideas are really the coffee shop feminists. Like those girls are kind of like half vampires, right? They haven't made their first kill yet. You could still change them back. They just need a strong male role model to enter their lives, right? Which is going to be you. And like I said, a lot of these girls tend to be pretty good looking, so it'll be worth it for you to do it. And she will be happy to follow your beliefs, even if you like red pill her. I've red pilled a lot of coffee shop feminists that I've met, I've approached, I ended up dating them. I've red pilled a shit ton of them to the point where they turned around and was like, man, I wish somebody told me this so much sooner. How come nobody else told me this? It's like, because all you do is freaking watch TV and Hollywood movies, so you believe all this shit, and you're finally getting somebody who doesn't watch that shit, so you're getting like the truth. So a lot of these girls I've been able to unplug. Like I said, they're half vampires. You could always unplug the half vampires. You could save them. But for these extreme feminists, like with the green hair, purple hair, and just like fat bodies, land whales, glasses, screaming about Trump, no, Trump's our president, no, they're beyond saving. Not that you would want to save a girl like that, but they're just beyond saving. And those are typically the ones that come from homes where there was no father involved. They were raised by a single mother. And if you need to see the stats on single moms, just go to my other channel, the 33 Secrets, and look at my videos entitled, anything entitled with a single mom. I always post the actual statistics of what happens to children raised in single mother households in my comment section. I always pin it to the top so you can see the stats for yourself before you start hating like, nothing's wrong with single moms. They're great and they're beautiful, mister, no matter what you say. Okay, those stats don't apply to her. Right, see the stats for yourself. And that's really the reality, is if you meet girls out there that are hardcore feminists and they look like the type of feminist I was just describing, the land whale type with the glasses and the green, purple, blue, orange hair, those girls are beyond saving, right? Again, you would have no interest in her anyway, so it doesn't matter. The ones that you would probably have interest in are the ones that are actually hot, and those half vampires, those coffee shop feminists. Those girls can definitely still be saved, because a lot of those girls have been raised in either two-parent households or with some type of male role model around, whether it was an older brother she looked up to, or maybe a stepdad, or maybe a grandfather. But she's still been taken in by some of those feminist ideologies that she might have heard from like a movie, TV show, advertising, or something like that, that she could be saved. Those are the only feminists that are actually worth saving. And again, they're not really feminists, they're just kind of like quasi-feminists. They're just kind of espousing those beliefs and those ideologies very, very nonchalantly. Like I said, they're coffee shop feminists. Those are the only ones that could be saved. Okay, all the rest, leave them to the dogs. All right, so that's all I have to say for today's coaching video. Until next time, this is Matt Cross from AlphaMaleSecrets. Do not forget to smash that like button below. Also, hit that notification bell right next to it so that you are notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video to YouTube. More importantly, guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It is very, very important you guys subscribe to my channel. Too many of you guys are still not yet subscribed to my channel, and it helps me out a ton when you actually subscribe. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, and anytime I upload a brand new video to YouTube, a brand new coaching video, you will be the very first to be notified about it. So you won't have to wait weeks and weeks to get it. You won't have to like search through YouTube to try to find it. Instead, you will be notified ASAP the same day that I upload it. Okay, so the only way that's gonna happen is if you hit that subscribe button. So hit that subscribe button now. And for you guys who want to support my work, support my content, and all of this red pill knowledge I'm teaching guys even further, the best way to do that is by becoming a premium subscriber of my premium AlphaMaleSecrets channel, which I am hosting on a private platform away from YouTube. And in order to access those premium coaching lessons, okay, you must become a premium subscriber. And the first month is only $1. So it's only $1 for the entire first month of premium coaching lessons. So definitely take advantage of it. I'm teaching you guys a ton of high value lessons that is going to change your life. It's going to transform your life. And really, this is the cream of the crop of my content. This is my premium content, right? And the only way to access it, again, is by becoming a premium subscriber. And it's just $1 for the entire first month. All you need to do is click that link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you could get signed up right now. It only takes 2 seconds, so do that now. And I will see you in my next coaching video.